Kofi, you want to talk about democracy? You're so cute. In this moment of democratic crisis, we need states to be standing up and fulfilling our promise of not only being bulwarks against authoritarianism, but also living laboratories of democracy. People have lost faith in democracy. There's studies that have found that since the 1980s, there's no correlation between public opinion and public policy. The only thing that has really influenced what becomes federal policy or law in Congress is the interests of corporations and economic elites. But since the 1980s, we've also been seeing around the world this explosion in what some organizations call a deliberative wave, like deliberative democracy, where citizens are directly engaged in policymaking and resource allocation, etc. Vermont already has that incredible tradition in our town meeting of direct democracy, where we don't rely on representatives. We come together and determine how we want to allocate budgets for our schools, our roads. And we have an opportunity to not only revitalize that tradition, but also to bring that process to all levels of government. Right now, our government seems to just be reacting to things and not even the right things, like we're obsessed with school consolidation, for example, as our healthcare system collapses. In order for us to get more proactive, we need to be clear on what are we actually trying to achieve as a society, because does anybody know what our government's goals are right now? We can do that through a process of actually engaging all Vermonters to define our long-term goals. There's an example of a country in the United Kingdom, Wales, that went through a process like this of asking their citizens, what kind of Wales do you want to leave for your children and grandchildren? And on this basis, passed a visionary legislation that required all of government to set clear 25-year targets related to those goals that were around like health and equity, biodiversity, community, connection, culture, prosperity, and to be held to account to achieving those 25-year targets. What that meant, for example, is that when they wanted to build a highway through the country, they had to make the case for how it would contribute to all 7 goals. And when they couldn't make the case for contributing to any of the goals, except for maybe one, they put a permanent freeze on all new road development so that money would go into active travel and public transportation instead, which they could make the case for contributing to a healthier, more globally responsible, etc. Wales. We have this opportunity to bring that kind of innovation to Vermont, to become a model of genuine democracy in terms of engaging our citizens in a process of all defining what is the future of Vermont that we want. What does that look like? What are our goals? What are our priorities? So we can not only hold the government to account, but our economy to account in delivering on that. And once we have clarity on what our long-term goals are, then we can also redistribute a lot more power and decision-making back to our town meetings, to our local decision makers, our communities, to design and develop strategies, policies, and implementation approaches that make sense for their context to achieve them.